Things Podcast. Hey, Phantomaniacs, welcome to the newest episode of the Needless Things Podcast, where we talk about toys, movies, music, and all manner of pop culture dorkery. And of course, now the pop culture dorkery flavor of the month is Dragon Con. Just a few weeks away, the greatest convention in the world is about to happen. So today, as always, we are kicking off our Dragon Con podcast coverage with our pals Gary and Joe, the directors of the Dragon Con American Sci-Fi Classics Track, or Classics Track for short. What I want to do here in the open, because I wanted to have some fun with the guys this year and do something a little different. So we don't just run down the panels. We mention a few things, but we don't do our normal drill of here's what's happening at 1 p.m. on Sunday and then 2:30 p.m. on Sunday. We mention a few things here and there, but right now for you guys, I am going to tell you which Classics Track panels I am on. Friday, 1 p.m. And I highly recommend, I don't think the Dragon Con app will be out by the time you hear this, but you know how it works. Whenever it comes out, you go in there, you add everything in the app. You can even go directly to me, since I am an attending professional, for the first time ever under my real name, Dave West. I'm very pleased about that. And so you can go in there, add Dave West, look up everything that I'm doing, and put it in your schedule. And but here's number one. Friday, 1 p.m., Needless Things presents Geek Year 1989. You know what we do? We go back. Each panelist picks a few things from 1989 that they love, one that we maybe don't love so much, and we have a great time and get input from the audience. And really, do I even need to say input from the audience? Because I think by now, everybody should know that that's a hallmark of Needless Things, is that we are going to be very interactive. Let's see here. So that is 1 p.m. Friday in the Classics Track Room, which is Marriott M103, M105. It's all one big room. It's just 103 to 105. I guess it's 3 conference rooms connected, because that's how much it takes to hold the Classics Track joy. Next one up is, we have already talked about it, but I'm going to say it again, Saturday, 10 p.m., Troublemaker World Premiere and Q&A. And I'm going to announce here on the show, I'll probably do it sometime over the weekend, but I'll go ahead and tell you guys right here live that I'm pleased, honored, delighted to announce that our dear friend, Mr. Mike Gordon, will be hosting the movie premiere and Q&A. He will be the MC of the event. I asked him if he would want to do it, and he said, of course, and I'm so happy because he's one of the smartest, most informed people that I know. So that's very, very exciting for me. I love that Mike, is not just going to be there, but is going to be part of it. And is going to be our host. It's going to be great. And then Sunday, 2:30 p.m., oh, and real quick, I want to let you know, we're going to have some special stuff to give away for the Troublemaker movie premiere, but you're going to have to get there early. Okay, Sunday, 2:30 p.m., Sci-Fighters Cage Match. We talk about this one on the show, but that is also Marriott M103, M105, and what that is, we explain it. Just stay tuned. Keep listening, and you'll hear it. Now, this one, very special, Sunday, 4 p.m. in the Hyatt Grand East. I will be moderating a panel with wrestling legend, The Natural, Goldust, Black Rain, Dustin Rhodes. I am so excited because there's so many stages of his career where he had an effect on me. And I've met him once before, and it was great, and I look forward to talking to him again. And then finally, my last panel of the year for the Classics Track, Sunday, 5:30 p.m., Needless Things presents the Video Game Hall of Fame Best Worlds. It's a clunky title, but what are you going to do? I couldn't come up with anything better. And the idea this year, last year we chose the best characters and the worst characters. Or I guess the best villain, best hero and best villain. This year we are choosing the best video game world, like best world from a video game. And I'm excited. We've got the same crew from last year. It's going to be great. And there you go. Those are all of my Classics track panels. Now I have more panels, but I will run those down as the month goes on. And also, please do join the Needless Things Podcast Facebook group, where I will be posting the events for these panels, so you can keep track of them on social media. Follow Phantom Troublemaker on Instagram for live stuff from time to time. And I think that's all the Dragon Con business I wanted to cover today. As far as other stuff that's going on, I want to know what you guys think about more minicast unboxing / toy reviews, because I still like talking about toys, and I obviously still collect toys, but I'm a little burned out on writing toy reviews. I'll never stop doing it because I get excited about certain things. I'll probably review just about every Mezco 112 collective figure I get, because they're different enough that I get invested and interested in them. Anything new and different I get, like I reviewed a few wrestling figures lately because they were different and exciting. So, I'm still going to write toy reviews when it takes me, but I really enjoy sitting down and doing an unboxing and reviewing it on audio. And I know the YouTube is the thing, but I tried that once. If you go to my YouTube channel, you can find some old toy reviews that I'm not particularly proud of, but I'm not going to take down because they're part of all of the things that I have done as Phantom Troublemaker and as Needless Things over the years. So they'll stay up. But it's just not my bag. And someday maybe Phantom Jr. will decide that we'll get together and he'll take care of the editing and production and all that stuff, and I can just sit at a desk and talk. But until that day, I think audio unboxing reviews are going to become a relatively regular thing. I've already done one for a Fortnite figure, which surprised me because I don't know anything about Fortnite other than my son plays it or played it. Apparently it's not cool anymore. And but he and I sat down and unboxed the Mezco 112 Collective Ghostbusters set and really had a good time doing that. That's going to go up on Monday, and I like doing that, especially when he's sitting there helping out. It's a lot of fun. So you guys are going to get more of those, and I'm asking what you think about that, basically. But really, it doesn't matter what you think because we're going to do them anyway. Boy, what else is going on? I'm excited going into this weekend. Marred Up Fest is Saturday. That is August the 10th. So if you're listening to this now, like as it drops, you still have time to get out to the Mule Camp Tavern in Gainesville and enjoy just about a day-long music festival. Go on Facebook, look up Marred Up Fest 3, or just Google Marred Up Fest 3, and you'll find all the different stuff that's going on. Casket Creatures, Die 985, Dale Jepson and the Nighthawks coming back to Georgia. Lots of bands. I can't remember all the bands that are playing right now. Elzig is playing. It's a huge day. It's going to be awesome. And I am hopeful that I'll be able to get out there. I'm not positive, but either way, it's going to be a badass show out in Gainesville. There's no law out there. They can do whatever they want. Shit's crazy in Gainesville. Just ask AJ Styles. You guys, I think that's everything. It's 7:30 a.m. I'm once again recording in the morning. Not my preferred time to do this, but Tuesday I was supposed to interview an artist who's worked on Garbage Pail Kids and all kinds of other like awesome pop culture stuff, hookup courtesy of the aforementioned Mike Gordon. and I came down with a bad sore throat. Might get into that at a later date. What all went on with that? I went to my new doctor, which again I'll probably talk about my new doctor at some point as well. Or did I talk about my new doctor last week? I might have. But anyway, yeah, I did. I was excited about my new doctor. So I had to go back to my new doctor much sooner than I expected because my throat felt like I'd swallowed a ball of razor blades. So I was not able to conduct that interview. That was put off, and I wasn't able to record the intro for this week's episode, which I recorded with Gary and Joe Monday night. It's just been, you guys, it's been a hassle this week. But that's how night shifts are. It's terrible. I hate working nights. Somebody get me out of this place. Let me find another job. Somebody just pay me millions of dollars to be a Z-grade internet personality. That seems reasonable, right? Right? You know what? After you listen to this conversation with Gary and Joe, you might agree with that. So now, here's a little bit of music, and then I'm going to talk to Gary and Joe about American sci-fi classics. All right, so are you guys prepared with the... Let me pull my notes up here. Are you prepared with the requests?
The homework, yes.
Yes, the homework.
Always.
Okay, so, well, let's just get into it. Let's start. We've done this a few times before. We know what's happening.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome two of the most wonderful people I've ever met in my life, Joe Crowe and Gary Mitchel. Welcome back to the Needless Things podcast.
Hey, what is happening?
Always a pleasure to be here, sir.
And, you know, when the Classics track is on in full force, you know what that means. That means Dragon Con is right around the corner. As a matter of fact, I don't even know that it's on the corner. Like, it's stuck to the corner, like an enticing piece of gum that is just the right color and doesn't look too old. Like, you just want to grab it and put it in your mouth and chew it because you know there's some flavor left. And once you do, oh, it's so good. It's so sweet and satisfying. Oh, yeah, it's Dragon Con time. That was the weirdest metaphor I've ever used on the show. But we're going to go with it. So, last couple of years, we have opened with a little mini roll-a-panel. Instead, though, this year we're going to do a few different things. I've got a few games that we're going to play to get across to the listeners how much fun the Classics track is, and also a little bit of the content that might be available this year. So we're going to kick things off. Gary and Joe, you guys, sadly, were not able to attend the Summer of the Bat, the legendary record-setting Needless Things panel that occurred at Atlanta Comic-Con just a month ago.
Yeah, unfortunately, I had a prior commitment in North Carolina.
These things happen, Gary Mitchell. Believe me when I say I understand. I missed my award-winning documentary film Troublemaker receiving Best Feature at the Scum Dance Film Festival in Reno, Nevada, because I had a prior commitment. So I understand. Believe me.
How awesome is that?
That's incredibly awesome. And more on that later. But what we're going to do right now, since two of the most effervescent, electrifying people in the world were not able to be there for the Summer of the Bat, we are right here on the Needless Things podcast going to have a mini Summer of the Bat panel. So I hope that you guys are prepared to talk about a piece of memorabilia related to the 1989 Tim Burton and Michael Keaton masterpiece, the phenomenon of Batman. Gary Mitchell, let's start with you. Do you have a piece of Batman 1989 merchandise that stands out to you that you remember, or perhaps that you even still have to this day?
The main thing that I remember that I loved was getting, and they still do them, but they don't do them the way they used to, was the movie books. It was a magazine about the movie, all the making of, behind-the-scenes pictures. As a guy who's fascinated with the behind-the-scenes making of stuff, those things used to be my jam, because before the internet, that was the only way to get that kind of information.
I know exactly which magazine you're talking about because I had it. I wore it the hell out back then, and I had to get a new copy to bring to the panel. And I've got a brand new, like, pristine copy. And for the listeners, if you want one of these, you can get them off eBay for less than $10 shipped.
Yeah. They're really good. I had one for Batman. I had one for Aliens. I had one for, I had one for so many movies. But that Batman one, I think like you, I just poured over it in those pictures, especially because, they would release them very close to before the movie came out. So it was always kind of this weird thing of reading it and getting spoilers, but not really being spoilers, but spoilers weren't really a thing then either.
Right. We didn't know to think any information related to the movie might be a spoiler.
Right.
We were desperate. We were like, any info we get, that's just gold.
Because we had so little...
more excited.
There was so little information. All we got, was the teaser trailer initially with just the bat symbol and a little snippet of the music, and then the trailer that kind of showed us the tone of the movie, but not much else. So yeah, we were desperate for information then.
Mm-hmm. And I just can still, like, in my head, I can still see, like, almost every page in those pictures of Nicholson in full Joker gear and poring over it and going, wow, you look so cool. And that bat suit, I mean, just that for me, like I said, I love that thing to death.
Well, just seeing all of the detail that when you're sitting watching a movie, you're caught up in the action, you're caught up in the story, you're following the plot, and you don't get to enjoy, like, if you just sit down and watch Batman, you really don't even know what that bat suit looks like. All you can say is, like, it's black, there's a yellow belt, and the bat symbol looks weird. And that's really all you could say about it.
Yeah.
Whereas in that magazine, it went into detail about the construction of the suit and how they had to sew the mask up in the back for certain shots, and what the cape was made of. I learned about gabardine thanks to that magazine. So yeah, that was those magazines used to be absolutely crucial for us nerds that needed all the insider information or any information at all. That's a great pick. I'm with you, Gary. That's probably my number one piece of memorabilia that I remember from '89. And any more about the magazine? Like, was there any specific pages you remember, or any specific elements that you kind of latched onto back then?
Mainly just the way it conveyed the feel of the movie. It had the black lettering with the gold outline around it, which, later became like the bat symbol, had that same kind of thing. And just, like I said, mainly just the pictures, just looking over all those pictures. I remember there were interviews and talking to some of the comic book guys and how, we were going to do serious Batman. But mainly it was just the drinking it in.
It was very, very visual. They... all of those sort of behind-the-scenes type magazines that came out back then, they were put together very skillfully because they had big, splashy pictures, but the articles were kind of interspersed really nicely. So if you wanted to just flip through it, you could drink in a really nice set of visuals, but there was lots of information too. They're pretty brilliantly done.
Yep. And I just checked because you happened to mention that, and yeah, you can get it for around $12 on eBay.
Yeah. It's and you can get them in. Like I said, mine is pristine. It came in like old school bag boarded comic book style. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Crowe, what about you? What is your piece of Batman memorabilia that you remember that has some significance to you about that crazy merchandising phenomenon?
Batman cereal.
Oh, yes.
Because never before had there been, you just walk into the grocery store with your mom and there's Batman things or there's superhero things. But it was right there on the cereal aisle, and the little Captain Crunch thingies were shaped like Batman symbols. It was the best. And it was just a black box with the bat symbol on it and a picture of the little bat things, as I recall.
Well, and that's what was so cool, is it reflected the marketing.
Yeah, it's like all we're giving you is the symbol.
They didn't put some goofy cartoon Batman on it or anything.
No. This is the symbol you are going to see in the movie. And then sure enough, boop, there he is in the movie. But now, I feel like the cereal came out like a month before the movie did. So of course I'm feeding myself the Batman cereal. I'm like, I got to get the Batman inside me.
Well, you're not the first one to have had that thought.
Yes, that is correct. Now, my biggest disappointment that I recall having Googled the image of the Batman cereal box is that it said on the back, get 3 Batman comic books free, and I already had those. The 3 that it says you can get if you mail off a proof of purchase label, I'm like, I got these already. What's the...
But do you remember the other key element of Batman cereal, though? What was attached to that box?
I do not remember.
The Batman Bank.
What?
The
bank.
It's a bank that's like a bust of the upper of Michael Keaton Batman from like the abs up. It's a blow molded vinyl bank, and it's shrink wrapped. You don't have to send off for it or anything. It was shrink wrapped to the box, and I just so happened at Atlanta Comic-Con. We went down there Friday, and we're walking around, and there was a guy that had a box of Batman cereal with the Batman Bank still shrink-wrapped, attached to the box.
Oh, my God.
And
good Lord.
I chatted him up. I told him I'd put him over at the panel, and we cut a little deal ski, and I am now the proud owner of an unopened box of Batman cereal with the bank still attached to it.
Man, I never, and I don't remember seeing the bank. So either that we didn't get those in deepest, darkest Alabama, or some little bastard took them all.
Stole them all, right? Well,
all the banks, all the Batman banks.
Both options are equally likely in Alabama.
Here's my theory, though. Because I remember those banks. I remember them being omnipresent and actually getting to a point where it was like, okay, enough with the banks. But think about how difficult, like you're a stock guy working at A&P. You're working the cereal section. You're putting up your Life cereal, neat rows, like 8 boxes of Life. Bang, 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 bang. Line them up. 8 boxes of Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Bang, bang, bang. Line them up. And now you get to this damn Batman cereal with this stupid bank sticking out of the front. You can only fit like 3 boxes on the shelf, and you've got a case of 12 boxes. It's a giant pain in the ass. What do? You say, screw it. And you tear open, you throw the banks out, and put the Batman cereal on the shelf without the banks.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I guarantee that happened.
Like these kids and their Batmen.
So before we move on, and those are both absolutely phenomenal. I mean, 2 of the hottest, definitely items from the era of the Summer of the Bat. Before we move on, do you guys have any other specific memories of the Summer of the Bat, that summer of 1989, and how magical it was, that you want to share before we get on to our next bit?
I was so into everything about it because the previous superhero movie had been like 10 years ago. Well, no, I know that Christopher Reeve's Superman came out in succession, but there had not been people were not nutso about them over the course of the years as they were about this.
Don't you besmirch Superman 4, The Quest for Peace.
No, how dare you? No, I shan't. I will defend that movie.
Oh, wow.
I mean, come on. It's got Ducky as Luthor's nephew. And
you're not wrong.
And he's amazing as Lex on Supergirl right now. But so I had the novelization, I had the keychain, and I think what it was is finally I could show off this stuff that I already liked. And now all of a sudden everybody else is bandwagon jumping. Oh yeah, Batman's pretty cool. And I would say, you shut up. you jackass.
You know.
Never liked Batman. So that's where I was with it. It was my first year of college. So I was able to I know this Batman stuff, you guys. I'm the coolest.
You're like, I've been playing this Batman game for a long time.
Oh yeah.
For me, the main thing I remember is I was 18. I was out of high school, and I was a deadbeat 18-year-old with no job. And my best friend had a job, and he was like, we were hanging out, and he was like, well, I got to go to work. So he went to work, and I'm like, the theater showing Batman's only about 6 miles from here. So I walked and went and saw Batman for like my second or third time while he was at work, and then rubbed it in his face. While you were working, I was seeing a movie.
That's awesome. So we will have a Batman 1989 panel on this year's American Sci-Fi Classics track. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about the panel. Who's going to be on it? Now, as we all know, before we move any further into this Classics track episode, we have to establish a little something about our panels, about the scheduling, and about how concrete anything that you see in any Dragon Con materials is or are. Man, my grammar just ran away from me there. As we all know, we can tell you right now that a panel may happen at 1 p.m. on Saturday, but it's entirely possible that it could get moved to 9 p.m. on Sunday, to 1 p.m. on Friday. It could get moved to next year. You don't know what's going to happen because Dragon Con is crazy. So there are no guarantees, are there, Gary Mitchell?
Oh, no. Nothing is guaranteed to happen to Dragon Con until it's happened and once it's over. And even then, we're not 100%.
Exactly. So we may mention some times and some events, but keep that Dragon Con app downloaded in your phone. Keep it on your front screen, ready to go, because you never know. And you want the up-to-the-minute stuff. And that Dragon Con app has become magic now. That thing is flawless. Flawless victory for the Dragon Con app. So, as of right now, when can we expect our Batman 1989 panel, and who is going to be participating?
That would be Saturday at 11:30 a.m.
Excellent.
With two of the Michaels, two of the drop of Michaels, Michael Williams, an author is he from North Carolina, Gary?
Which one?
Michael Williams.
Yes, he's from North Carolina, up in Raleigh.
Oh, he's one of your people. Okay.
Yes. He's one of my guys.
Yes.
See, now I get to see you, Joe. Which one of us is Paul Heyman, and which one is, the guy from WCW whose brain just fell out of my head?
Eric Bischoff?
Yes, who's Bischoff?
You guys have to work together for the betterment of the overall product.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I think I may have to be Heyman just because I think Joe has Bischoff's hair better than I do.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Joe, if you show up to Dragon Con this year with like a mane of dyed black hair and a leather jacket.
Ooh. I'm going to walk in, and as soon as I walk in, like, he's back and better than ever.
Oh, my gosh, that would be incredible. And then you can say, look, I've got my Big Jim.
I always got Big Jim.
We need to figure out a bit for that this year.
Always.
We'll do that.
Always.
We'll do that off recording. All right. So Batman 1989 representation on the classics track this year. It's near and dear to me.
There are two more people for sure
please.
are on the Batman 89 panel are pals of Classic Track, pals of ours. The recently married Cadaver family, Ryan and Nicole.
Oh, well, you're going to get a special treat there. We'll save that for live at the show, but that will be very exciting. Ryan Cadaver has a very special and particular talent relating to Batman 1989 that everybody will be able to enjoy.
Yes, he does.
All right.
I'm so excited. I have no idea. That's great.
So let's move on to our next game, if you gentlemen are ready.
Sure.
Always ready.
We are going to play a little game of Desert Island Movie.
Ooh.
So if you get stranded on a desert island, I have a selection of movies, and you're going to have to tell me which one you would choose to have on that desert island with you. Now, we're running under the assumption that you have a nice little TV VCR combo unit. We're not just going to give you the VHS tape and make you look at it longingly. You'll actually be able to play it. You'll have a little generator that can run your TV VCR, so you'll be able to watch this movie over and over again for however long you're stranded on this desert island. So let's start. Joe Crowe.
Oh boy.
You're stranded on a desert island. Now you've got enough supplies. You've got your TV VCR combo, you've got your generator. But you're not the professor, so you can't build an aircraft carrier out of coconuts.
Nope.
So here are your choices. You have one movie to bring with you. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, Back to the Future Part 2, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Weekend at Bernie's, Ghostbusters 2, The Burbs, Roadhouse, and your final selection, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. These are all movies from 1989.
Oh, gosh. Oh, wow. As far as continued enjoyment, as far as constant entertainment, I got to go with Christmas Vacation. I got to go with my gut.
Oh.
My gut says Christmas Vacation.
Wow, very good. Interesting. So you're planning on being there a long time. You're going to be celebrating the holidays on your desert island.
And there's going to be that part where I'm so sad, just like Chevy Chase is, stuck in his freaking attic.
Except instead of watching home movies, you'll be watching Christmas Vacation.
It'll be like an Inception thing. I'll be watching.
It's also a good psychological call because while you're baking in the tropical sun, you're watching Christmas snow.
Yeah. That's as I was reading the list, I thought to myself, I was like, nobody's picking Weekend at Bernie's because you don't want to think about this beach while you're stuck on a desert island.
And you also don't want to think about a dead guy.
That's true. It's very true.
There's a corpse. I don't want to think about a corpse.
Every year I propose something wacky and different for the classics track. This year my proposal, Weekend at Joe's. We do a live reenactment of Weekend at Bernie's, but with Joe Crowe standing in for Bernie. I think it would go over like gangbusters.
I think we can do this.
I think we can make this happen.
Absolutely. Although I move we do Weekend at Bernie's too, so we can play tiki music and make him dance.
Oh yeah,
what year
good
did
call.
that come out? What year did that come out? We'll do that too.
I don't know. Was that was like it was pretty fast afterwards, wasn't it? I don't know that it was 1990, but I think it was prior to 92, right?
Oh, okay, I'm gonna do a American Sci-Fi Classics trick move right now, and
Hit the
I'm gonna pull Weekend at Bernie's 2 off of my shelf.
Yes, this is great. Live in Joe Crowe Studios.
Oh shoot, where is it?
No,
There's
me,
Gremlins. There's the Batman '89 movie.
Joe, do you not have your movies in alphabetical order?
Oh Lord.
Oh my gosh, I'm
I
horrified.
have it. Yes. Here it is.
Okay.
It came out in 1993.
Wow, that's a longer time in between movies than I thought.
Yeah.
90,
A little
90
4 years.
Yep.
I think it was I think I remember it being just long enough that I went, wait, they're doing a sequel?
Well, to be fair, it was late 80s, early 90s. They weren't necessarily ready to pull the trigger on the Bernieverse and all of the associated sequels and tie-in movies. But maybe it's time now. So, all right. Joe Crowe, your selection was National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Obviously a classic, and honestly, out of all of those movies, probably the one I've watched the most times. Gary Mitchell, I'm going to read the list again. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, Back to the Future Part 2, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Weekend at Bernie's, Ghostbusters 2, The Burbs, Roadhouse, or are you sticking with Joe Crowe and choosing National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation?
But it's a hard call. And as much as I want to say Bill and Ted, I'm going to go with Last Crusade.
Oh, interesting. See, I had pegged you for Bill and Ted. Joe Crowe was a wild card. I had no idea where he was going to go with this thing, but I figured you were a Bill and Ted guy. Interesting. All right. So put over Last Crusade. How did Last Crusade win?
Just because I love the Indiana Jones series so much. There are 3 perfect movies. And that's all I'm going to say on that topic. And, it's got Sean Connery. It's got the globetrotting. He gets to be face-to-face to Hitler for a second. It has the great villain who appeared in Empire Strikes Back and then was later on Game of Thrones. It has the sequence of trying to get to the Grail. Jehovah starts with an I. And he chose poorly. Just all around, I think it may be the most solid. I mean, I love the first one, but I think it may be the one of the 3 movies I enjoy the most.
I think it's definitely the one that has sort of the most pop to it.
Yeah.
Because you throw Connery in there, you throw Julian Glover in there, and you really have this, it's got Marion aside, it brings back so many of the big cast members from the prior movies, and it gives something that we never really had on Indy before, and that's a little bit of backstory. And that was very exciting because this was a time where, prequel. Now, granted, Temple of Doom technically took place before Raiders of the Lost Ark, but
right.
At the time we didn't have prequels as they're thought of now, and Indiana Jones, the character was kind of just a mystery. So to see this look at his youth and this relationship with his father was fascinating. I mean, it really opened up the character and the world so much more.
Yeah.
So, 1989, obviously, we've already discussed, we've made a point of talking about 1989, but we're not just about things that happened 30 years ago. You guys, you run your classics track in a very intelligent way. You have an eye for anniversaries, but from time to time, you pick out certain things that you feel deserve recognition for whatever reason, regardless of if it's 10 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever. Each of you, and we'll start with Gary, is there one panel this year that you feel like really, I'm glad this is on here? I mean, obviously you love all your babies, But is there one panel you can look at and you're like, man, I'm glad we got that one in there?
Oh man, like you said, it's like trying to choose your babies. If it's one that I came up with, it's actually the one we actually came up with the most. It's the last panel we came up with, like about 2 weeks ago. Cousin Oliver was framed. Top sidekicks of old classic movies.
I'm glad you chose that one because I need you to explain this to me.
Okay, so it used to be a huge thing that every movie, a lot of adventure movies, you always had the tag-along kid sidekick. You had Short Round. You had, Johnny Quest is sort of technically a kid adventurer, but there was always a sidekick. And the name comes from Cousin Oliver, who was added to a TV show, and people said once he got added, it took the show in the toilet. And I was like, no, he wasn't the problem. The show was in its 7th year. Of course it was starting to suck.
Right.
Yeah. So we're just going to talk about all the great, one of the reasons I think The Goonies works is it's a whole movie that's nothing but a collection of kids' sidekicks. Any one of those kids would be the annoying sidekick running around with the adventure in a whole different movie.
Oh, wow. You just blew my mind.
And also, speaking of Short Round, we were in, me and the family were in Hot Springs, Arkansas on doing the vacationing and such just a few days ago. In Arkansas, they have a comic convention or a geek convention coming up in September. Short Round is going to be there.
Ooh. Oh, wow.
Not at freaking Dragon Con that we go to, that we will be at ourselves in a few weeks.
Well, you know who I blame for that? I blame you, Joe Crowe. Why aren't you bringing us Short Round?
I have dropped the ball. I have dropped all the balls.
Big time.
I didn't know he was available to do conventions. Why? Why did this not occur to me? How do I find Short Rounds?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm furious. I'm so mad that, and there's posters everywhere in this little tourist town. I was so outraged that my sweet daughter, Quinn, every time we passed the poster, Quinn would say, "Let it go, Dad." Dad, just let it go.
And this is the 35th anniversary of Temple of Doom.
So mad. So
wow. Now you've got to wait 5 more years for the 40th.
Yeah. Well, last year though, maybe not. Yeah, I know. Maybe not, because last year was V's anniversary, and we got the V cast this year,
which is awesome. Let's talk about that a little bit. Because I feel like this. I haven't been tracking Dragon Con as closely as I have in past years just because I've had so much going on this year. But I feel like all of a sudden one day it was just like everybody from V is going to be at Dragon Con. When did this happen and what's the news? What are we doing with them?
We've got Mr. Mark Singer, and then the Lizard Queen, Jane Badler, Commander Diana. And somebody that we'll be sharing with our pals at the Horror Track, a person known to some people as Mr. Robert Englund.
Never heard of him.
However, you may be more familiar with him from your nightmares as Freddy Krueger.
Oh, that Robert Englund.
Yes.
I definitely don't have a Fred Krueger action figure that I had him sign at Dragon Con several years ago, and he was so good-natured. It's a pre-Freddy Fred Krueger action figure, so it actually looks like Robert Englund.
Nice.
And I had him sign the jacket, and he was because I wasn't thinking about how difficult it was going to be to do. He was so nice and so good-natured about it. And actually, I'll throw a picture of that up on Instagram so the listeners will be able to go check it out. But he's one of the nicest people I've met him several times at conventions now, and he's just amazing. And of course, Mark Singer, if you've ever met him at a con, you know he's great and enthusiastic. This is very, very cool. Now, are they all going to end up on a panel together?
Yes.
Wow.
If I have to kill somebody.
Yeah, exactly. We got them all one day. I'm not sure. As we announced earlier, we don't know. Like right now, that one day is it Sunday when they're all together?
I believe so.
Okay. Yeah. But if it ain't Sunday, it's one of the days we have all three of them together. The other times it's Mark Singer and Queen and Commander Diana together.
Well, and they're doing a panel. We have one panel with all three of them, and then Mark Singer is doing a Beastmaster panel because we have to.
Oh man, that's fantastic! And of course,
I was not going to let him escape without doing a Beastmaster panel.
The best for the listeners, the best way to keep track of all of this is to get that Dragon Con app, mark those guests, get in there, mark those panels so they stay in your schedule, and you'll get updates as to if something moves. It sends you a little notification and lets you know that something has moved. And then, of course, once the panel is over, what do we do, Gary Mitchell?
We rate it 5 stars if we like it, and if you didn't like it, you rate it 5 sarcastic stars.
Perfect.
Trademark, copyright, Tegan Hendrickson. Hey, Tegan!
Okay, so it's time to move on to the next game.
Oh.
What we're going to do, because on Sunday this year, tentatively, we are going to be presenting a very special edition of Sci-Fighters.
Yes.
I'm very excited. This concept is strong. I don't know if you guys given it away yet? Have we done a public announcement on that yet?
We have not.
By the time this airs, we probably will have.
Okay.
When are you gonna... Otherwise, Joe and I would be a lot more mean to each other.
Does one of you want to announce the theme of this year's installment of Sci-Fighters?
I can, because it was my idea.
Do it.
I was at work, and we were kicking around a different idea for Sci-Fighters, and I go in to have lunch, and on the TV in the break room is playing Face Off. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, wow, Nick Cage, this movie is so much fun. And then I started thinking about it, it's like all the different Nick Cage movies, and I'm like, Nicolas Cage has done enough movies that we could probably do a Sci-Fighters filled of nothing but Nicolas Cage characters.
Oh, yeah.
And we call it a cage match.
Oh, man. The genius.
It was a bolt of inspiration. I texted Joe immediately.
I absolutely love this idea, and if you don't know what Sci-Fighters is, it's basically like King of the Ring, the tournament where we have, I think we generally choose 16.
Yes.
Yeah.
And with heavy audience participation, and that's key. That's one of the things I love about the Classics track is you guys are big into audience participation. With audience participation, we determine a winner from an assortment of 16 characters, and this year it is going to be 16 Nicolas Cages, as selected by the audience too. We even make the brackets right there at the beginning of the panel in front of everybody.
Yes.
So what we're going to do right now is we don't have time to sit here and run a 16-man tournament. So, Gary and Joe, what we're going to do is we're going to have a little Sci-Fighters Fatal 4-Way.
Ooh.
I have plucked 4 characters from the glorious year of 1999, and you guys are going to determine who comes out victorious, and your competitors are Neo from The Matrix, Tyler Durden from Fight Club, Rick O'Connell from The Mummy.
Ooh.
And Captain James West from Wild Wild West, baby.
Will Smith.
So what we have here is a fatal 4-way situation where it is elimination rules. All 4 men are in the ring at the same time, and we have to determine which one will be standing triumphant at the end of the confrontation. We have Neo, Tyler Durden, Rick O'Connell, and Captain James West. Joe Crowe, who do you think is going to be the first eliminated?
Oh, okay. The first eliminated is going to have to be. I say Neo goes down.
Whoa! What?
What?
He knows kung fu.
But if they get to him before he downloads the kung fu stuff.
Oh, right. Because if we're doing this pro wrestling style, then technically Neo's Hulk up move would be the download of the fighting style. But he starts the match off as just dude in office.
Because but exactly, because in Battle Royal tradition, you go after the biggest guy first.
Right, and they know what's coming.
You go after Andre. You go after Braun Strowman. Whoever, because the big dudes don't usually last super long in a Battle Royal because they go after that guy.
You can't
have the big gang up.
You can't let that guy get to his bullet time powers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wow, so Tyler, Rick, and James all team up on poor old Neo and dump him out. Pin, 1, 2, 3, Neo is out of here. Gary Mitchell, who is the next person eliminated from our Sci-Fighters Fatal 4-Way?
Well, with Neo out, that gets rid of my first inclination, because I was figuring Tyler Durden would go out first, because he'd start to give one of his speeches, and Neo has heard all these speeches from Morbius before, so he just kicks him.
Oh, you're right. There's a lot of thematic similarity there, isn't there?
There is. So I'm going to stick with Tyler getting out next, just for the simple fact he is going to start trying to mouth off and tell them they're not special snowflakes and make some big flowery speech, and Rick O'Connell's just going to punch him in the face.
Oh, beautiful. I love that. Very solid. Matter of fact,
He's very hands-on, very practical.
Yeah, he's a tough, big, tough dude. I can literally visualize Brendan Fraser just knocking Brad Pitt right the heck out.
Yes.
All right, we're down to 2 men, one-on-one action. Rick O'Connell and Captain James West. Will Smith versus Brendan Fraser. Wow.
Oh, man.
Now, Gary, before you decide, before you choose, swallow your pride. Don't let your lip react. You do not want to see my hand where my hip be at.
Oh, wow. That was incredible. That alone, I feel like, okay, I'm casting my vote, and there are 3 of us, so this is going to be tough. I'm casting my vote for James West after that. That was beautiful. Gary, how do you feel?
I cannot disagree with that, especially because it's hard because they're both very much a I'll just shoot you kind of guy.
Sure.
So I can definitely see that. He texts Tyler Durden, he throws him out, he turns around to have a pistol in his face. He gets the line that's boom, West wins. And then we get a dance number.
Exactly. Oh, man, you got to end on a dance number, and as much as I love Brendan Fraser, he is not going to be pulling it off Big Willie style.
No, exactly. I mean, any damsel that's in distress will be out of that dress when she meets Jim West.
Oh, my gosh, this is amazing. Is there a Wild Wild West panel this year? If there's not, there should be.
I feel terrible, but no.
and considering my last name, really, it should just be me up there talking about Wild Wild West.
Yes. You are the Wild Wild West.
Well, I don't know about that. All right, excellent. So for the first ever Sci-Fighters Fatal 4-Way, your champion, Captain James West, Big Willie style Will Smith from Wild Wild West, which is really, somebody will defend that movie, I'm sure, but it ain't going to be me.
Right at the cusp of the Willennium, guys. It was right there.
Oh, this is the greatest episode ever.
You are on fire, Joe.
So moving on, Joe, do you have a panel that's kind of your favorite baby, one that maybe you thought about last year and you were like, oh, I hope I can find a spot for this year, or one that has just really kind of grown on you, and you've thought, man, this makes me so happy that we're giving this to the people this year?
Yeah, Sunday. Let's. Okay, I'm having a difficult time choosing. One panel we have had planned since last year. Another panel we just added like 2 weeks ago. In addition to the classic Sci-Fi Sidekicks panel, the panel that we added, we've been talking about for a year, is the 30th anniversary of UHF.
Yes. As soon as you announced that in our special double secret group, I knew there was going to be fierce competition for panelists for that.
I just want everybody to come. We'll do like a roller panel thing and just fill up we can have 20 panelists. I don't care. Because what we're going to do, we're going to have a panel that we're just going to watch the movie. We're just going to show UHF. That's it.
Well, and that's the thing, is it's almost too big, too beloved. Like there's almost nothing to discuss.
Exactly.
It's wonderful perfection. We're all nerds. We all love Weird Al, and like no matter how cynical you are, I don't think there's anybody who can look at that movie and not agree that it's so much better than it had any right to be.
Mm-hmm. The tortoise is nature's suction cup.
My dad used to, and my dad is he's a very serious man. He doesn't get tickled too often, but I remember watching, after getting UHF on VHS, I remember watching it, and he's in the room sort of tolerating it. That scene, he was dying. He just thought that was the funniest thing ever. When he's today we're going to teach poodles how to fly, and my dad is just rolling. I mean, it got him. It was great. It was a bonding moment.
Oh, Joe, you want to tell about the special thing we have for that viewing?
Okay, what we've asked people to do is, because the 30th anniversary is sponsored by Spatula City.
Oh,
we are asking you to bring your own spatulas.
They sell spatulas, and that's all.
And that's all. And in addition to bringing your own spatulas, we have special classic track themed spatulas ourselves that we're going to be handing out at the panel.
Oh, this is phenomenal.
You get there early. These are specially classic Sci-Fi track branded, thanks to a wonderful fan named Susan who got these done for us.
Oh my gosh. Truly, we live in an age of wonder.
Indeed. Indeed.
One of the biggest tragedies for the con for me is the fact that I will not actually get to attend this panel because I'm going to be on another panel somewhere else.
Oh, that's Dragon Con. That's how it goes.
Gary, I feel like maybe now, why don't we recruit somebody else to do that and let you come to the UHF thing? We'll discuss later. We'll discuss.
All right, so we've got, you guys have a couple more pretty exciting guests lined up as part of the Classics Track programming, one of whom I've actually had on the Needless Things podcast, and that is Mr. Zach Galligan from Gremlins.
How cool. Yeah, he they snuck him in without any hype, or I didn't even see the Dragon Con, on their social media. I didn't even see the official announcement. I was just looking through dragoncon.org when I was putting stuff in the backstage gizmo that schedules everything, and I was like, Zach Galligan. And so I thought, well, he's got to be on a panel. Boom, I got him. And so wow, yeah, we're gonna have the Billy from Gremlins.
Well, he is very, very nice. He was doing a press thing when I talked to him, so it was like a string of interviews, and he ended up coming on late, and he was like, I am so sorry. I know we were supposed to be talking at this time, but guess what? You're last in line. we'll talk for as long as you want to talk. And I said, I'm so sorry, I've got 20 minutes because I've got another podcast I've got to record. And I should have just told the other podcast, look, you guys are just going to have to wait. But it was a big Halloween show with a lot of guests, and I would have felt too bad putting them off any longer. So I never got my full Zach Galligan interview, but someday it'll happen. And we've also got this one, you guys, magic again, the legendary, the natural Dustin Rhodes.
Yes.
And I'm so glad he is coming to Dragon Con. I don't mean to pat myself on the back. I had nothing to do with getting him to Dragon Con.
There's nothing wrong with that.
But I hosted Q&As with him and Al Snow, the legendary Al Snow, at a Birmingham convention, Magic City Con, just a couple of months ago. And he was delightful. He wore the gold dust makeup one day, and he was just Dustin the next day, and he wore a T-shirt that said Dusty's favorite, which
that's great.
Made me laugh every time I saw it.
I am very excited to have the opportunity to be moderating that panel. With my now, I think I can refer to it as a legacy of moderating wrestling-oriented panels at Dragon Con. But this one, Goldust is just such a phenomenal force. And then if you go back to when he was in TNA briefly as Black Rain, that's the first time I ever met him. And I've got a little story about that I'm going to share at the panel. Because you have a little icebreaker for the people.
Oh yeah. But he loves Goldust. He loves talking about. He is not, how some people are like, well, dude, I do this thing. No, yeah. He loves Goldust, and he was all about talking about that. I hosted 2 Q&As with him. The only time anything kind of slowed down with him was somebody in the audience threw him by asking him, did he shop for his own underwear for the Goldust Roddy Piper Hollywood Backlot Brawl?
Oh, man, that's hilarious. Because that to me, that's, even though it's not really a match, that's one of my favorite, it's one of my favorite wrestling, I guess, events ever. Him and Piper were just on fire for that.
I don't want to, I don't want to spoil, because he told an abbreviated version of what happened that day to me at that panel, and I'm not going to say a word because it's a great story. And he said, so Saturday, he tells me, remind me so we can talk about that tomorrow. And then by the time we got around to it the next day, he said, we don't have time to tell the whole thing, but I'll just give you the abbreviated version. And the abbreviated version, I'm screaming, like tears coming down, but because it is so good. Him and Roddy Piper live in Hollywood having to put together a match while WrestleMania is happening. It's awesome.
Yeah. We'll definitely get into that. All right, so we've got you guys have some great guests lined up, some great panels to spotlight those incredible talents. And we've got one last game before we wrap this thing up. And it's another, it's a newer Classics Track tradition now, because I think you guys have only done it last maybe 2 or 3 years. And that is, the name is escaping me now, but it's the Classic Sci-Fi Court.
Yes.
And explain, if you will, the concept of this.
What we do is, instead of traditionally they're a movie that everyone goes, boo, those are bad, there's guilty pleasures. A lot of those are really good. And even if they're not, the fun is trying to defend them. I have a little experience with this with a little TV show called Manimal, but these are movies that we're doing, and the Classic Sci-Fi Court is where we present. Everybody plays defense attorneys, and me and Gary play the judges. And you present your elaborate defense of why you think a certain movie that maybe lots of people dislike or think is bad. You present that and explain to people, to the jury, the audience, why that movie is good. We've defended Howard the Duck. We've defended, or rather, our attorneys have defended Howard the Duck. Judge Mitchell stepped off the bench and defended the LXG movie last year. And I was weeping by the time his defense was concluded. I was weeping tears of joy. It was so good. And so we're doing that again this year. This will be year 3, and we've got a judge's robe, we've got a gavel, the whole shebang. It's a delight.
So what we're going to do right now is each of you is going to present a movie that you feel needs your defense and isn't deserving of the derision that it perhaps receives in the public eye. We're going to start with Gary Mitchell. Do you have a film that you feel is far better than it is perceived to be?
I have a lovely little movie from 1989 called I'm Madman.
Whoa.
Yes. It was a little independent horror film that it wasn't as much derided as it was ignored. It came out, and it's a story of this lady who works in a bookstore, and she loves old pulp novels, horror novels. And her favorite is about this guy who's a mad surgeon who falls in love with this lady and starts cutting off pieces of people that she thinks are attractive, like, she likes that strong Roman nose, so he cuts off the guy's nose and stitches it onto his face and all this. And as the lady's reading the book, it starts happening in real life. And
Whoa.
The guy comes out of the book and is stalking her.
I don't know anything about this movie.
Yeah, it's one of my absolute favorites, and every time I try to mention it to horror fans, it's either what or that.
Wow.
And like I said, it's just and it got a nice Shout Factory release a few years ago, which made me very happy. And I watched it again. I'm like, okay, it doesn't hit me as strong as it did when I first saw it as a teenager, but it's still good.
You still have those sentimental feelings.
Exactly.
All right, fair enough. I'm Madman. You have been found innocent.
Yay!
Joe Crowe. What is your what movie are you springing to the defense of?
This movie was on the television. Christopher Lee, who would later thrill us as Sauron, Lord Sauron in Lord of the Rings. Wait, no, oh my God, he didn't play Sauron. Did he play? Jeez.
He played Dracula.
I'm an idiot.
He played Dracula.
Jeez Louise. Anyway.
It's okay. I if you had just kept going, I wouldn't have even realized it. I'm not a Tolkien guy.
I'm an idiot. He didn't play Sauron. He played Saruman. Yeah, that guy. So anyway, he's the villain.
Not to be confused with Japanese wrestler Sour Man, who feeds his opponents lemons.
I wish. Why can't that exist? It probably does.
Yeah, it probably does.
But the movie I'm speaking of is from 1979, and it is called Captain America 2, Death Too Soon.
Oh, boy.
The Captain America TV movie where he wears a motorcycle helmet throughout the entire film. and it's a giant 1970s motorcycle helmet.
Yeah, it's not cool at all.
No, and he's got painted on wings, and his shield is see-through for some reason and tiny.
But look.
Well, because he's using it as his motorcycle's windshield.
Dude, when I was a kid, I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. That shield was the windscreen on his motorcycle, and then he'd stop, hop off, and pop that shield off and use it. Man, I thought that was incredible, and I was so disappointed, like, years later when I kind of got a little more familiar with actual Captain America comics. I was like, how is he going to see through his shield when he puts it on his motorcycle? This is bullshit.
No, I agree, but my defense is this movie is it's just so Captain America and so 70s. It's the whole opening scene where he pursues muggers on the beach, and they are in a dune buggy, and he chases them on foot.
He's Captain America.
He's Captain America running on the beach. And if you're a criminal and you've done something awful, which in this case I believe was stealing an old lady's purse.
Sure.
You look behind you and you see a man in a giant bowling ball helmet pursuing you. Why don't you just quit right then? Just stop.
Yeah.
If you see the Sentinel of Liberty chasing you down when you're driving your dune buggy down on the beach, you just stop and give up.
That's it. I've made poor life choices. I need to stop and reevaluate myself.
Exactly.
So what is Christopher Lee doing in this thing?
He is the mad scientist.
Well, of course he is.
He has a chemical formula that accelerates aging, and so it supposedly is going to make everybody that the formula hits turn into an old fart. And but then he throws it at Captain America, and Cap blasts it with his shield, and Captain America only ages a month, and he's like, "Bitch, I'm Captain America. I'm fine."
Nice.
But then Christopher Lee ages forever unto death in less than a minute. And so I guess he got more splashed on him. And so he dies right then. And then Captain America's science dude, Dr. Mills, in a ridiculous post-action thing at the end of the movie says, "Oh, yeah, the formula hit a city, but it didn't hurt many people."
Me.
I'm like, what? Why didn't you stop it, you jackass?
Redefining the happy ending. Mostly everybody made it.
Everybody's okay, I guess.
Ish.
Yeah, that was the end of.
This sounds exciting. I want to track this movie down and watch it again. I know I saw these when I was a kid, but I will go ahead and say, Joe Crowe, you have successfully proven Captain America 2, Dracula's Revenge, innocent of all wrongdoing.
And this is another movie that if we had enough days and enough time, of course, we would screen it at DragonCon. Tried to get Reb Brown, the guy who played Cap, tried to get him to DragonCon again this year. Couldn't make it work. But, one of these days.
Well, next year is the 30th anniversary of another Captain America.
Oh, yes.
Oh, baby. All right, we've got to wrap things up. I've had a lot of fun playing games with you guys, but I've got to get sincere now. I saved one thing for the very end because it's my show and I want to put my my big event over. In 2012, I was on my very first DragonCon panel for the Classics track, the 1982 panel.
Yes.
And that's where and I have to also thank the guys at the ESO Network for being the foot that got me in the door for that opportunity. And since then, you guys have treated me like family, and you have really given me a loving and encouraging venue to do all of the stuff that I love doing so much. And when I was talking to my director Wilson about it, I said, I don't care what else we do, but we are doing the world premiere of Troublemaker on the Classics track at Dragon Con. Anything else we do after that is fine, wherever we go, whatever, but that's our world premiere, is at Dragon Con on the Classics track. And I want to thank you guys for these years, 7 years now, of just complete support that's been so important to me, and I'm so excited to be sharing this documentary. And for the listeners, if you somehow don't know, my friend Jason Wilson, an Emmy Award-winning director, followed me around for about 13 months and all the stuff that I do. And we have a documentary film called Troublemaker that follows me from Halloween one year up through the Dirty Dirty Con Game Show at Dragon Con the next year. And it's beautiful, and it's won awards, which honestly, that's great, but that is just kind of, a little something extra on the side. The film itself is what I'm so proud of, and the fact that I get to share it with my Dragon Con family this year, Saturday night at 10 p.m., is very exciting. But seriously, thank you guys so much, not just for these years of support, but also for letting me come to Dragon Con and show this thing that I'm so proud of.
Well, you're welcome, and you and so many of the people that we have met since we started doing the classic track, we feel like we're a family. And Gary, I'm putting words in your mouth, and I apologize, but I think Gary and I feel the same way. You guys are the one thing we wanted when we were youngsters was to have, 36 close friends that we could all do this cool stuff with. And now we have it. And that's the best.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, getting to meet you, which led to meeting the ESO crew, which led to meeting Ryan Cadaver and Nicole and the whole Needless regulars, has been one of
Popeye the Sailor Moon.
Popeye the Sailor Moon.
Who may well be making an appearance.
Yes. Getting to meet you guys is one of the great joys of my life. And getting to work with you at Dragon Con is always a pleasure. And as I've said to you publicly and privately in the past, as long as you're willing to come, there is always a space for you on the track.
And I appreciate the heck out of that. And of course, there's more stuff going on. It's Thursday through Monday, the Classics track is jam-packed. Yes. I've got a few more panels on there that, you can go in the app and check those out. The big thing I wanted to get over is I want everybody to come out to that Troublemaker premiere. It is, to me, we're not doing the game show this year because I knew this was happening and this is my focus. We're going to have limited edition poster prints that were made by Belligerent Monkey just for this event. They will never be available anywhere else. It's going to be limited quantity, so show up early. And we are, I'll go ahead and say it. I have also ordered Troublemaker badge ribbons. If you know, badge ribbons are kind of a big thing at Dragon Con. And yes. We are going to have a limited number of Troublemaker badge ribbons to give out. And again, these will never be reproduced in any way. The only way you're going to be able to get them is at the Troublemaker world premiere at Dragon Con. So, Joe and Gary, thank you guys so much. Before we go, is there anything else that you want to put over that's going on this year? Anything critical or important that the Classics track fans need to know about?
Oh gosh, well we know that there are a zillion things literally that you could do at Dragon Con, and if you choose to come to the Classics track, that's special to us because we appreciate it, and we hopefully let all of you know that we do when you show up. And we just have fun. We try not to take it very seriously. We real life is terrible, and the real world is awful. But for a few days at Dragon Con, we get to just chill out and celebrate nerdiness, and that's just the best.
It is the best, and one of the things I love so much is that there are no gatekeepers in the Classics track. It is open and welcoming, and whatever your fandom is, you guys, everybody's ready to talk about it. Go ahead, Gary. I'm sorry. I'm full of emotion now.
I was just saying I agree with him. Everything he said. There is so much stuff that you can do at Dragon Con. I mean, there are people that never go to panels and have a great time. So that anybody comes to choose and spend a little time with us in our little corner of the con is fantastic, and everybody's welcome.
Awesome. Well, you guys have created something truly unique and special, even at Dragon Con, which is one of the greatest places in the world. Within that, you've created like something that shines so brightly, even out of just what's great at Dragon Con already. So thank you for that. Thank you for coming on the show. And, of course, we have to do, where can we find you online? What are you up to?
Gary?
Okay. You can find me on the Facebook, Gary Mitchel, Mitchel with one L. I'm also on the Twitter as Gary_Mitchel, Mitchel with one L again. I'm also trying to do more on Instagram now, where I believe I'm Sneezy the Squid. So if you Google for me, you can find me. And as always, have to say, yes, Star Trek fans, it's my real name.
Yeah, and when you met the guy who played Gary Mitchell, who came to Dragon Con a few years ago, and you can tell the story better than me, but I feel like, didn't he just go, huh, when you told him?
Yes. I walked up to him and I offered my hand. I said, I'm sure this has happened to you before, but my name is Gary Mitchell. And he went, nope, never.
Oh, man.
He was not impressed.
Shut down.
Wow.
However, I have a better Mark Singer story, but I'll save that for con. You got to find me and put some booze in me, and I'll tell you.
Oh, there you go.
No, that's your Mark Singer story is terrific. But you can find me on the Twitters and the Instagrams at Yojo Crowe, YOJOECROWE, and our track is on Facebook.com/groups/ American Sci-Fi Classics. And in between now and Dragon Con, I am a pro wrestling announcer as one of my many freelance activities. And you can find me in Gadsden, Alabama, and in Munford, Alabama, and just running from people who are throwing steel chairs at me. It's the best.
That is, I miss those days, but it's quite a. It takes a lot. It takes a lot of investment.
Luckily for me, everybody else is doing all the work. I just come in and announce. So, I mean, the most work I do is I help take down the ring at the end of the night because I feel like, well, I'm some old fart, and these guys, this is their lives, and so I can help them carry the boards and the canvas to the trailer. But
oh wow, that's actually really good of you. That I think that's a rarity right there, as the announcer doing anything. I certainly never lifted a finger.
and the for the past few weeks, I have I've had a kind of a broken foot. I say kind of, I mean it's broken.
Yeah, what? Oh my gosh!
But I kept on. I even though I've just dragged my broken foot into the ring and done my announcing, and then helped them again with my broken foot, and it's a brownie points really is all I'm doing it for, because you could hear the guys going like, hey, look, those wrestlers aren't helping, but the idiot with the broken foot's helping he's helping with the ring. So yeah.
Well, you guys, and that's what it is. It's all of us doing everything we can to, to get away from the grind, to enjoy ourselves, to invest ourselves in things that we're passionate about, and finding the time to do so. And Dragon Con is just a massive focal point of that. So I cannot wait to see you guys in just a couple of weeks here. We're going to party. We're going to have some fun. And we're going to hear Gary's story about Mark Singer.
Yes.
All right. Later, you guys.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
3 weeks from today, I will be headed to the Atlanta Hilton to experience not just Dragon Con, but Hilton Wars, which is, if you remember last year, the Hilton had a Jurassic Park theme in the lobby with a party going all day, basically, and all kinds of fun stuff. Like, it was just cool to walk into. There were pterodactyls, like, going all the way up the elevator, whatever the tower area is called. And this year it's Star Wars themed. It's going to be awesome. The DJ is back. We just had a blast. It really enhanced everything. Just every time I went downstairs and walked through the lobby, it was like right into the party. I loved it. I thought it was great. I'm very, very excited. I have this year 9 total events as of right now going on. And like I said, I'll tell you about the rest of them as the month goes on and as we get more podcasts up. I already have a couple of episodes that are going to have to be mini-casts. I have more Dragon Con podcasts than I know what to do with, and I really don't want to do 2 full podcasts in a week. But I might have to. I've done it before, and it might happen again. We'll see how it goes. But I've already got one in the can that's it's something really cool and special that Mr. Bo Brown hooked up, and we'll just see. We'll see how the rest of the week plays out, or the rest of the month plays out. For right now, I'm tired, and I want to go to bed because I've got to get back up. I want to go walk today. I want to make that happen, and then I've got to go do another night of work, and then I've got my short weekend off. I'll be back at work Monday morning. Don't think about that. Don't think about Monday morning, you guys. Don't think about it. Think about, I love you guys.
Thank you for listening to the Needless Things podcast. You're the best. You can find the show on iTunes, Stitcher, Downcast, or in the ears of a Trader Vic's employee. Love you. Mean it. Uh-huh.